right, good morning. Happy last Web Tech day before spring break. We are going to do a few things today. We're going to finish this booklet, the HTML bubble under. There's only a few pages left. And then we're going to talk about how you can check your code for errors before using it or submitting it for grades, which is a pretty cool thing. And then we're going to talk about creating a basic website for your actual business that you're doing in this class. So after we get through this booklet and today, we will have covered the HTML basics that I want to get out to you. And then when we come back from break, I'm going to give you just a brief introduction to CSS, which is the code that stylizes a page. So we're finally going to get some color and different colored fonts and different things going on through CSS. And the reason that we now do that through CSS code rather than writing it right into the HTML is that we can change our mind really quickly. So if we tell it to have an all blue background with white text and our boss says that's horrible, it should be black and red, which is even worse. So no, that's not true. But if they want to change their mind, all you have to do is change it one place in the CSS code, and it will automatically apply throughout your entire web pages, all the HTML where it's called for. So it's one-stop shopping. It's very convenient. So let's get Notepad fired up, and we'll get back into business here. And let's, if you have anything that opened up, like I did, let's just close them out so that we're for sure starting with the correct files. So in Notepad, when you get that up, let's open your bubble under site. So wherever that happens to live, if it's on your desktop or on your jump drive or wherever it is, get into bubble under and let's open up, what page are we going to actually work on first? The About page. So as a reminder, last week we kind of cleaned up. We copied the index page 3 times because the code was good, and then we just cleaned up each individual page. We renamed it Index, About, and Contact, and then we tweaked each page. So this page, the About page, currently looks like this. We have our working navigation from last week where the hyperlinks work to go to all 3 pages. And then on the About Us page, we simply have the one paragraph, or the one heading 2 and 3 paragraphs of text. The next thing that we're going to look at in our booklet, where we left off last week, was the black quote. It's at the lower third of a left-facing page. Who said that? So a black quote is something that we're going to add into this page, the About page. I'm going to go back to your code. It basically what it does is it indents and potentially stylizes later how something appears. So if you're quoting someone and you want it to be visually set apart on the page, if you use the black quote element to wrap those tags, the black quote tags, it'll indent, and then later on if you decide I want every black quote to be red, Times New Roman, italic, bold, anything that has the black quote tags would behave that way. So it's a way of setting things off. So let's go into our About page and dun, 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 dun. Our dear friend Bob Dobalina. So we're going to put this, we're not just diving. So after our last paragraph on this About page, click down in your code, make this, whoops, bigger. So right down here, after that last paragraph in our quote, in our body section, we're going to add a new paragraph. So P code is for paragraph. And then we're going to type in, or as our man Bob Dobalina would put it. Those are the words. Whoops. And then close your paragraph right after that. So that's just another normal paragraph. But what he's actually saying, we're going to put in black quote tags. So we're going to start with black quote, And you can see that as you start typing, you tend to get tips filling in. It knows that block quote is an option. So let's hit return a couple times and close the block quote so we don't forget. And then inside of that block quote is where his quote is actually going to go. We're going to wrap that in paragraph tags as well inside of here. So he actually said, with quotation marks, happiness is a dip in the ocean, followed by a pint or two of old speckled hen.
Where's this guy from?
The UK.
Yeah, I was going to say, I read that all in like an Irish language.
Yeah, right. You can quote me on that. Quote me on that. And then end quotation mark and then close out that paragraph. So we added this paragraph, which is just another normal paragraph of text, and then we added a block quote inside it as a paragraph. Let's save our code and run it in Chrome and see what it looks like. So here's our result. We have a normal paragraph, as Bob Dobolina would put it, but then a block quote automatically gets indented. That's the one thing that it does without you writing any additional code for it to tell it how to look, any CSS. It will always indent it. Do not use this, though, just to indent things. That's not how we use this. This is literally meant for something that's like a pull quote or a quote from somebody, and it will indent it. So here's the end result over here. Oops, here's the part that we just added. And here's the indented part. And you can see if my screen is full width, it indents just that first line, but if I make my screen smaller and it has to wrap back, you can see that it still indents the second line of the quote down here. Okay, everybody have luck with that? Was that a
yeah. I'm looking really hard. One second.
Okay, so it's block quote is the, look for missing backslashes, and the nice thing is when you're in this program, you can click on, like I said, the opening tag and the closing tag should highlight. Make sure you're still within the body of this entire thing. So everything that we're seeing on this page is within the two main body tags. What we can see in here is our our header, our navigation, about us, and these quotes. So right, this part is the part we just added. Okay, a couple more things to learn about. We're skipping the next one. It's the cite element. I just don't see you using it any too often. The next two, however, we do use a lot. So I'm going to make this big again. They are strong and M. Strong is the same thing as bold. So think of that if you want a word to show up as being bold. In the old days, we would use B for bold. However, with accessibility issues and screen readers, when something is actually bolded, the screen reader doesn't know how to read it any different to the end user that's listening. However, the word strong, the screen reader knows that tag and it will say the word stronger. So look at that big dog. If it's wrapped in strong tags, it will say it differently. If it's wrapped in B or bold tags, which do the same visual thing, it won't say it any differently. So we've kind of just ignored and dropped off, like it's old school to use B for bold. Now we just use strong. Same thing goes with emphasis, EM, and I for italics. On the page, it's going to italicize the word. It's exactly how it's going to look, whether you use EM or I. But when screen readers get to that code, they say it differently if it's got the emphasis tags. The italic tags mean nothing to it. So the two we're going to use are strong for bolding and EM for emphasis. So let's do something in our current page. Let's take a look at it on screen. So this is what our page looks like. Let's make the words Scapa Flow bolded. Okay? It's going to appear bolded on here, but it's really going to be using strong tags. So if we go into our actual HTML and we find those words, Scapa Flow, it's a place, I guess, there they are. We're going to wrap it in strong tags. So before that word, we're going to write strong. And then right after it, we're going to end the strong. If we don't, everything is going to continue to be bolded from that point on. So end strong. So those two words should visually show up as being bold, and if a screen reader hits that strong tag, it's actually going to say it in a stronger voice. Save and see if we accomplished it. Make sure you save and refresh so that you actually see it, and there it is. It did show up bolded. Let's look at using emphasis, which will italicize words. So let's go to that first paragraph. Let's make the words small group italicized. So we arrange weekends away as a small group. Let's italicize that, which is with the emphasis tag, EM. So we're going to wrap EM, and then after the word small group, EM. Just to show you that it looks the same, go to the word cut right after it, or any word, and wrap it in italics tags, which is just the letter I, and then backslash I. Visually, these two are going to look exactly the same when we view them on the screen. Small group and cut. See how they're both italicized? So emphasis and italics end up giving it the exact same look. However, the way a screen reader hits them is different. And because everything you do has to be ADA compatible, if your website isn't able to be used by people with visual difficulties, if they're relying on a screen reader, that's no good for business, and it's actually illegal in a lot of like federal and educational standpoints. Your website has to be ADA compliant. It has to be able for people to see it. So I'm just going to take out that italics I code. And like I said, the letter B, which was always used to code for bold, is the same look as strong, but we use strong from now on. So is everybody able to get those two tags to work?
I couldn't get the, I don't know the block code. My block code.
It still didn't work?
Yeah, no.
Okay. I save that. Okay, so going back to that block code issue, I literally typed in the quotation mark here because it was in our printout. So that black quote tag doesn't add those. All it does is indent it. So it's a way of like pushing type in to draw attention to it. Okay, excellent. The last or next thing at the very bottom of the page says taking a break. We've talked about how where we put, well, let's just do this. Let's go back to our About page. And after every 4 words, because our screens are different depending on how zoomed in we are, after every 4 words in this first paragraph, I want you to just hit enter on your keyboard. And then just in that first paragraph. So if this is what you're hoping it's going to look like on your screen, just do a few sentences and hit save. So I hit return after these first 5 lines, thinking this is how I want it to look. But guess what? When we go view it, and I zoom out because I'm way crazy in, look at that. Spaces in code mean nothing. If you actually want line breaks or returns, you have to use a standalone code to get that to accomplish. So hitting enter, like I did here, means nothing. So I'm just going to suck them back to where they were. Not that it matters, obviously, because, whoops, took off the G on diving. Doesn't change a darn thing. All these spaces mean nothing to code. All right. If I do want a line break to happen, you have to use a code that's either /BR or BR /, and I think it's changed since the publishing of this book, but it's a standalone tag, meaning you don't need to wrap things in a break code, you just write it once. So if we wanted a space to occur on purpose after the word diving right here, we'd have to put in a break code. And in our book, it shows it this way, BR /. This is the one weird time where the / comes at the end. And so remember where you put it. For me, it's after the word diving. If we save this and view it in Chrome and refresh, notice after the word diving, regardless of how big my screen is, I have a hard return. I have a break. It pushed it down a line. So if you ever intentionally need to do that, like you're writing a poem or you want a line there, the break code is what you need to do. So let's go back to our code, take out the break where we have it right here, and let's go down to the bottom of this page, and let's put in their contact information, make something up right now. So after our block quote, let's make a paragraph and say, contact us at this address. And we want it to force down a line. We absolutely want that. So we have to put in the break code. Be good if I could type. Visually, I'm going to go down a line and keep typing, but to be honest, I could keep typing right here. That break code is pushing it down. The way code reads it, it does not matter. But since visually we're going to have our address on this next line down, let's just type in your whatever address. I can't even think of LTCs right now. So, Lakeshore Technical Diving Club. And I want to break after that again. 1515 North Avenue. I'm going to break again. Cleveland, ooh, I don't know what we are out here. 1-5? Drawing a blank today. Oops. This last break isn't necessary because it's the end of code, so there's nothing else after it, so I really didn't even need that. So let's save that and take a peek. And there it is. There's a break after the word address, there's a break after diving club, and a break after North Avenue. So that pushed it all down one line. If we wanted to make contact us at this address bold, we would wrap it in what tags?
Strong.
Strong. And when it's done, we would close that. Strong, except I forgot the closing, /. And there it is, it's bolded down here. Before we quit on this booklet, because that was the last page, I want you to flip back to the front page because at the bottom of that they have codes for specific symbols that we see, and now is a good time to learn about that and to put it into use. So let's go back to our code page, and at the very bottom we see how do you get a greater than sign to show up on screen, or a less than, or the ampersand, or the copyright. Copyright is a big one. We see that at the bottom of websites where they copyright it and put the year that we're in at the time. So let's practice that one. After our address here, let's just say the word copyright, type it out. Let's put it in a paragraph, sorry. Oh, and I forgot to end my paragraph up here. Let me finish that one. See, this is what happens when you don't close stuff right away. That's why I like to write my tags right away. So the contact us at this address, that's one paragraph with some breaks in it. And then this last one that we're going to do is going to be the word copyright. And then we want the copyright symbol to show up. So what we have to type in is literally the ampersand symbol and then COPY semicolon. Notice how when I got to that semicolon, it made it italics and a lot lighter and spun it. That's telling you that it knows it's something special. It's a thing. So copyright, and then that set of letters, and then let's write 2020 Lakeshore Tech Diving Club, and then close out that paragraph. When we view this, we have the word copyright that we literally typed in. Uh-oh. And then we actually have the copyright symbol. That C symbol is way down here. Unfortunately, I can't get it to show up higher on the screen. Right here. Did that work for everybody? And notice how back in our code it's actually highlighted in a light yellow. The trademark is actually, on our page it's wrong. It says ampersand, let's just make those for fun. Ampersand, trade, semicolon, and then go down a line and do ampersand, CENT, semicolon. Any guesses what those two are going to show? I can't see it because my screen's too darn small. Hold on. The trademark symbol is the first one, and it's up higher, it's like superscripted, and then the cents symbol is what the other one was. So that's written wrong in your book. That last bullet point says ampersand trade is going to give you a cent mark. Not true, it's going to give you the trademark. Ampersand CNT, semicolon, will give you the cents mark. Are we good? You can delete out the trademark and the cent symbol from here. We don't need any of that. Alright, so we added a couple of things that aren't literally on these pages to demonstrate how we can do breaks and how we can use the copyright symbol. So we have a little bit extra. Save that file, and I'm going to show you the validator. So go to a web browser, Chrome, and go to a search, and I want you to type in HTML validator. And this is an easy way to get to this page if you forget the website. Just do a search for it, HTML validator. And the one that shows up at the top of your options is validator.w3org. That's the one we're going to use. Click on this. So this one is check the markup of your HTML web documents. So if you want to find out if you have errors or maybe you're using an old code, like that break code might show up, we can either go to a website that's already online, the URI is the same thing as the URL, or we can validate by file upload, or you could directly type in your code, but let's do the file upload. Choose that file that we just did, which was the About page in your bubble under, and click it here so that it chooses that file, and then run the check button. Bogus comments. That's funny. So those three errors I'm not going to worry about because they're literally in the comments, the things that are in the exclamation point, meaning those are things that we write for humans to see, but no other errors showed up. Let me go back to this page and intentionally botch something up. I'm going to forget, on the About Us, I'm going to forget the closing H2 tag completely. First thing I want you to notice is that if you do that and you run it yourself in Chrome, does anybody visually see a problem here?
Yeah, it's all in header 2.
Yeah, so clearly this is all heading 2, which means I forgot to stop it here. I forgot to close it. So that's one of them that's actually easy to see. So what if I went back and I said, oh, I forgot the H2, and I just quickly typed in H2, but I forgot the backslash. Save it. Let's run that through the validator and see if it pulls that up as a problem or not. So I'm going to go back to this validator thing, go back to the starting page, choose a file, About, open, check. Look at how many errors that generated compared to what I just had. And all I did was forget the backslash on the H2. So the tricky thing is don't freak out and go, oh my god, I have 13 errors to fix. First of all, the ones at the top that are talking about the commenting, I'm not going to worry about, but look at this one. Heading cannot be the child of another heading. Like, I don't know what that means, but look what it highlighted for us, H2. Basically, I know my problem is in this H2, and it says line 33. So you can jump back into here, go to line 33 in your code, and it has something to do with the H2s. Go, oh, I've got that backslash. Now if I were to run it through the validator again, all of these would go away except for those original bogus comments that we got. So there's a validator for HTML that we're using now. There's actually one for CSS that we're going to learn after break. So when you submit anything, run it through this first. Find your errors, because frankly, this is a way of getting it perfect on your assignment, because it will literally tell you where you have errors and help you figure them out. So I want you to keep that in mind. All right?
Gotcha.
HTML validator. Okay, let's stop.